I'm Ryan Carter. In 2022, I stood on the deck of the Caribbean Dawn, a ferry cruising from Miami to the Bahamas, the warm Caribbean breeze tousling my hair. I was 34, a project manager from Chicago, finally taking a week off after years of relentless work. The ferry was a floating oasis. Families lounged by the pool, couples sipped tropical drinks, a reggae band played near the bar. The ocean stretched endlessly, a deep blue under the midday sun, promising sandy beaches and carefree days. I'd earned this break, but a nagging guilt lingered from 2020. I'd submitted a false report on a project, skewing data to make it look successful, a reckless move that nearly cost my team their jobs. I'd kept it buried, hoping it'd never resurface. My friend Sophie was with me, her curly red hair bouncing as she adjusted her sunglasses, her blue eyes sparkling with excitement. At 30, she was a graphic designer, always chasing the next adventure, wearing a white tank top, denim shorts, and flip-flops, a straw hat perched on her head. We'd been friends since college, her optimism a counter to my tendency to overthink. "Ryan, this is paradise," she said, snapping a selfie with the ocean backdrop. I smiled, smoothing my light blue t-shirt and khaki shorts, trying to shake off the guilt that clung to me like a shadow. A woman in a bright yellow sundress caught my eye, scribbling in a journal, her sharp hazel eyes scanning the crowd. She seemed out of place among the relaxed passengers, her intensity unsettling. The ferry hummed along, the reggae band's beat mixing with the waves, but the sky darkened on the horizon, gray clouds rolling in fast. A crew member muttered about a storm warning, his voice low, barely audible over the music. I brushed it off, leaning against the railing beside Sophie, her laughter filling the air as she pointed at a dolphin in the distance. The ferry rocked gently, a subtle shift, but the air grew heavier, the music faltering as passengers glanced at the sky, a quiet unease settling over the deck like a storm about to break. The Caribbean Dawn sailed deeper into the Caribbean, the festive mood fading as the storm closed in. I stood on the deck, my light blue t-shirt damp with sea spray, khaki shorts clinging to my legs, the warm breeze now a sharp gust that sent shivers down my spine. Sophie gripped the railing beside me, her curly red hair whipping in the wind, blue eyes narrowing as she tucked her straw hat into her bag, her white tank top and denim shorts speckled with water. "Ryan, this looks bad," she said, her voice tight, her usual optimism replaced by a flicker of fear. The reggae band stopped, their instruments stowed as passengers murmured, some heading inside, drinks left on tables, ice melting in the sun. The woman in the bright yellow sundress stayed on deck, her journal clutched tight, her sharp hazel eyes scanning the horizon, her presence more unsettling as the storm grew. The captain's voice crackled over the speakers. "We're diverting course due to weather conditions. Please remain calm and move indoors." But the ferry rocked harder, waves crashing over the deck, the sky turning a menacing black, lightning, splitting the clouds like jagged scars. My stomach churned, not just from the storm, but from the guilt I couldn't shake. In 2020, I'd faked a project report, skewing data to hide delays, a lie that nearly tanked the project and cost my team their credibility. I'd kept it hidden, but it weighed on me, even here. The storm struck with fury, winds howling, waves, slamming the ferry, tilting it dangerously. Passengers screamed. A child's beach ball skidded across the deck, the bar's glassware shattering. Sophie grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "We need to get below deck." But a massive wave crashed over us, soaking us to the bone, the ferry lurching violently. The hull groaned, a deafening crack echoing as we hit a reef, the ship shuddering as it began to break apart. The deck split, water rushing in, passengers scrambling for life vests, the woman in the yellow sundress clinging to a pole, her journal slipping into the sea. I held Sophie's hand, her screams drowned by the storm as the Caribbean Dawn sank, pulling us into the churning waves, the faint outline of an island, our only hope in the chaos. I came to on a sandy beach, my throat raw from salt water, my light, blue t-shirt and khaki shorts soaked and gritty with sand. The sun blazed down at 92 degrees, the air thick with humidity, the crash of waves a steady rhythm in the background. I was on a small, deserted Caribbean island, the wreckage of the Caribbean, Dawn strewn across the shore, splintered deck planks, a lifeboat torn in half, a child's inflatable ring caught in the surf. Palm trees lined the beach, dense jungle stretching beyond. The calls of unfamiliar birds mixing with the rustle of leaves. A sense of isolation pressing in despite the tropical beauty. Sophie lay a few feet away, her curly red hair matted with sand, her white tank top and denim shorts torn, blue eyes fluttering open as she coughed, her straw hat gone but her spirit intact. "Ryan, we made it," she rasped, sitting up, brushing sand from her arms. About a dozen other survivors were scattered along the beach, tourists in soggy beachwear, a few crew members in tattered uniforms, all shaken but alive. The woman in the bright yellow sundress, who introduced herself as Elena, stood near the water, her sharp hazel eyes scanning the horizon, her dress stained with salt, her journal lost to the sea. We had no food, no fresh water, our phones either dead or swept away. The heat already taking its toll, I rallied the group, leading them to the jungle's edge for shade, but the humidity was suffocating. Sweat dripping down my face, my t-shirt sticking to my skin. Sophie stayed close, her optimism flickering. "We'll figure this out, right?" But the jungle was alive with threats. Swarms of mosquitoes buzzed, their bites itching instantly, and the distant growl of a wild animal sent a chill down my spine. Elena pointed to a rocky outcrop. "We need to find higher ground, scout for resources." Her tone was sharp, her eyes calculating, already taking charge, but I felt the weight of my past, a false report I'd submitted in 2020, putting my team at risk, a secret I couldn't outrun, even here. The first day on the deserted Caribbean island stretched endlessly, the heat climbing to 95 degrees, humidity making every breath a chore. I sat under a palm tree, my light blue t-shirt torn at the sleeve, khaki shorts stiff with dried salt, my skin already sunburned, the relentless sun offering no mercy. Sophie crouched beside me, her curly red hair tangled, her white tank top and denim shorts stained with sand, blue eyes scanning the jungle for any sign of help, her usual cheer replaced by a quiet determination. "We need water, Ryan," she said, wiping sweat from her brow, her voice hoarse from thirst. The survivors were fraying. Tourists bickered over shade. A crew member named Carlos hoarded a coconut he'd found, refusing to share, his uniform torn at the collar. Elena, in her bright yellow sundress now faded and ripped, took charge, her sharp hazel eyes commanding attention as she organized a group to search for a stream. But the jungle was a maze of vines and thorns, the air thick with the buzz of insects, mosquitoes swarming, their bites raising red welts on our skin. I led a small group deeper in, hoping for fresh water, but the underbrush was dense. Roots, tripping us, the heat sapping our strength, our throats parched, every step a battle against dehydration. A sudden rustle stopped us. A pack of wild boars charged, their tusks gleaming, forcing us to scramble up trees, my heart pounding as they snorted below, their beady eyes glaring up at us. Sophie clung to a branch beside me, her camera dangling from her neck. "This island wants us gone," she muttered, her voice trembling. Hours later, we found a trickle of water, muddy but drinkable, filling our hands, the relief fleeting as the boar's growls echoed nearby. Back at camp, tensions rose. Carlos and Elena clashed over leadership, their voices sharp, the group splitting into factions, trust eroding as hunger and thirst gnawed at us, the island's challenges exposing our flaws, my own guilt simmering beneath the surface. Day 3 on the Caribbean island pushed us to our limits, the heat a blistering 98 degrees, the humidity suffocating, our bodies weak from hunger, our throats raw from thirst. I stood on the beach, my light blue t-shirt in tatters, khaki shorts stiff, with salt and mud, my skin covered in mosquito bites, each one a fiery itch, my vision blurring from dehydration. Sophie stayed close, her curly red hair matted, her white tank top and denim shorts barely holding together, blue eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of rescue, her voice a hoarse whisper. "Ryan, we're running out of time." Her hands shook as she clutched a cracked coconut shell, the last of our water gone, her resolve wavering under the relentless sun. The group was on the brink. Elena and Carlos's feud had split us further. Elena leading a group to search the jungle for food, Carlos insisting on building a signal fire, his crew uniform now a rag, his temper sparking arguments over every decision. I joined Elena's group hoping to find something, anything to eat, but the jungle was unforgiving. We stumbled through dense vines, thorns tearing at our skin, the air thick with the stench of rotting vegetation, the buzz of insects deafening. A sudden roar stopped us, a jaguar, its yellow eyes glinting, stalked us, forcing us to climb a tree. My heart pounding as it prowled below, its growl a constant threat, hours passing before it moved on, leaving us shaken, empty-handed. Back. At camp, the signal fire failed, the wood too damp to burn, Carlos's frustration boiling over. This is useless. He kicked at the embers, sparks flying, nearly setting a tent on fire, the group shouting, trust eroding further. Sophie and I sat apart, sharing a single palm frond for shade, her camera useless now. We need to hold on, she said. But I felt the weight of my past. My lie in 2020. The false report that risked everything, a secret I couldn't face, not while we fought to survive. The island's challenge is a mirror to my own failures. Day 4 on the Caribbean island brought us to a breaking point. The heat an unbearable 99-degree, the humidity a wet blanket, our bodies on the verge of collapse from hunger and thirst. I sat in the shade of a boulder, my light blue t-shirt reduced to rags, khaki shorts filthy, my lips bleeding from dryness, my skin a patchwork of sunburn and insect bites, every movement a struggle, my head pounding from dehydration. Sophie, slumped beside me, her curly red hair a wild mess, her white tank top and denim shorts torn, blue eyes hollow, her voice barely a whisper. Ryan, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Her hands shook as she scratched at a bite, her body trembling, her spirit nearly broken. The weight of our situation crushing her usual optimism. The group was in chaos. Elena and Carlos's rivalry had turned vicious, Elena accusing Carlos of stealing a fish he'd caught with a makeshift spear, Carlos shouting back, "You're not in charge." Their argument erupted into a physical scuffle, other survivors pulling them apart. But the damage was done, morale shattered. The camp, divided into hostile factions, each hoarding what little they had. A few fish, some palm leaves, a single cracked bottle of rainwater. I tried to step in, my voice weak. We need to work together, but no one listened. The island's harsh reality fueling their desperation. Trust a distant memory. A tropical storm hit at dusk. The wind howling, rain lashing down, flooding. The camp, our shelters collapsing, forcing us to huddle under a rocky overhang. The group packed tight, tensions simmering as thunder roared. Sophie clung to me, her camera long abandoned. We're going to die here, aren't we? I shook my head, but doubt gnawed at me, my past a constant shadow. My lie in 2020, the false report that nearly ruined my team, a secret I couldn't face, not yet. As the storm raged, a faint light appeared on the horizon. A ship's beacon, a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos, giving us something to hold on to, a reason to keep fighting. By the 6th day on the Caribbean island, we were barely holding on. The heat a brutal 100 degrees, the humidity unbearable, our bodies frail from hunger, our minds frayed from exhaustion. I stood on the beach, my light blue t-shirt in shreds, khaki shorts caked with dirt, my lips cracked, my body a map of bites and burns, the weight of survival pressing down, my guilt a heavy anchor. Sophie stayed beside me, her curly red hair, a tangled mess, her white tank top and denim shorts barely clinging to her, blue eyes fixed on the horizon, her voice a whisper. We made it this far, Ryan. Her hand squeezed mine, her resilience a lifeline pulling me through the darkest moments. The group had fractured beyond repair. Elena and Carlos refused to speak, their factions glaring at each other, but the ship we'd seen the night before gave us purpose. We worked together, barely, to build a signal fire, using the last of our strength to gather dry driftwood, the flames roaring as we waved tattered clothes, shouting until our voices gave out. A rescue boat finally appeared, a Coast Guard vessel, its horn a sound of salvation, pulling us from the island, our bodies weak but alive. the ordeal etching itself into our souls. Back in Chicago, 2023, I'm 35, a photo of Sophie and me on the beach in my office, a reminder of what we survived. On the island, I'd confessed my lie, falsifying a report in 2020, risking my team's future, a secret that had haunted me. Sophie listened, her hand on mine. "You're better than that, Ryan." I stepped down from my role, started a consultancy, focused on ethical practices, mentoring others, a small redemption. The island taught me honesty, its waves a lesson in truth, a new beginning I'll never take for granted.